Hey! I'm Cooper.
And I'm Karen.
You're listening to
You Want Me to Do What?
A conversation between a millennial trainer, that's me, and his boomer client.
That's me.
As we take our gym floor conversations to the recording studio.
Listen in our informative conversations where we'll guide you through 4 phases of habit change, from contemplation to maintenance and beyond.
Through each episode, learn about the intersection of generations and discover how, at the end of the day, we're more similar than we realize.
Grab a front row seat to our sometimes hilarious stories about our personal experiences as we move through each phase.
Join us as we reflect on our unlikely friendship, our cultural differences, and certainly that big age gap.
We hope you see it's never too early or too late to be your best self. So if you're considering making changes to your health or fitness, or you've already started, this podcast is certainly for you. Welcome.
So last time in episode 5, ouch, is this supposed to hurt?
Woo.
We continued our discussion on action, the 3rd phase of our behavior change conversation. KK talked about the reality of soreness and how pain in adopting new habits is a good sign and totally normal. Be mindful that this is a temporary part of the process, though. We also had Dr. Mike Gardino enlighten us on what it's like on the rehab side of things, his perspective on injury prevention, and some of the most common things he sees in his practice from boomers and millennial patients. So the title of this episode is, I Got My Goal, Now What? This is where I'll address a question everyone must confront on their fitness journey. At least I hope you do. How do I maintain what I've achieved? Here we are with that word, maintain, which is the final phase of our behavior change discussion, maintenance. So what does that even mean? Well, literally, it's when you're maintaining something that you have started. Who knew? In this case, it's the behavior change that you initiated during your action phase. This new habit or habits have become your new normal. It's who you are and what you do. It's what you identify as now. A lot of times with clients, I try to get them to think about the old version of themselves versus the new version they are becoming. If you're in this phase, you should be recognizing choices you're making now that you wouldn't have made in the past. That is the old you. The new habits are your routine now. At this point, you won't be thinking, I'm going to go back to the way I was. This is your new reality.
Yeah, folks, and maintenance is really, it's a wonderful place to get to no matter how long it takes you to get there. In my case, it's probably been about I'm into 2 years solid this month, actually.
Wow.
And what I'm really proud of that I'm maintaining is I do have a diet of 90% whole food, 10% processed foods. I'm doing water exercise classes at least 3 times a week. And I'm conscious to get in a minimum of 7,000 steps daily. Yay me.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That was hard work.
Yeah, 7,000 is a lot. Maintenance just involves being able to successfully avoid any temptations to return to bad habits. In this stage, you will tend to remind yourself of how much progress you have made.
You really do. You really, really do.
When you reach maintenance, you will constantly reformulate the rules of your life and acquire new skills to deal with the new things that may come up.
Yep.
And avoid relapses. Here is where you will be able to anticipate the situations in which a relapse could occur and prepare coping strategies in advance. You are aware that what you are striving for is personally worthwhile and meaningful, and this knowledge will fortify your patience for what you're maintaining.
It really does. Just the work that you've put in, you just don't want to throw it away at this point. If you've worked and gotten to this point, it's been a roller coaster. And you really do have a different set of tools to manage things that may come in your way, and you're just much calmer about it. It's a great thing. So maintenance in my mind was, back in the day, the only time I even used maintenance was in weight loss. I worked for a few weight loss companies, and that was like the final phase when somebody hit a goal on a scale.
Okay.
which is weird because it had very little to do with maintaining a behavior. When Cooper would say maintenance to me, all I could think about was a weight goal. I really couldn't think about anything else. Now that I understand that in the terms of habit change, maintenance is just doing what you set out to do. And that's just so much more relaxing than trying to hold on to a number on a scale.
The scope of what you can accomplish is a lot bigger.
And it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
You have a
for
lot more
me.
options for what you can maintain
Right.
that's new and better for you.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, maintenance is boring.
And I know there's a lot of backlash right now on social media about calling this part of
Oh, really?
of your success boring. Like boring has such negative connotations to it. But it is, I mean, it's a little mundane. It's just, you're just doing now what you set out to do. Mm-hmm. Just like anything in life gets boring.
Yeah.
You know, I wish there was a better word. I don't know, but it really kind of is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, all the fun and exciting stuff that you started in the action phase is kind of like simmered down.
Yep.
You know, the Peloton, maybe broke a few times, or, that gym key tag that you got that was nice and fresh
Yep.
and firm.
It looks
is
a little
now-
worn because your fingerprints have been going to the gym.
Right.
Or even like you've just reached some milestones you set out for. Now you're just keeping it going. And
That's
it's part
right.
of your journey.
That's right. I mean, it's just routine now. So
Yeah.
boring.
Routine, that's the word.
Boring routine.
It's routine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this can take weeks, months, years.
Yeah.
But when we sat down to do this podcast together, you didn't consider yourself to be in maintenance. But
And
I
I
told
didn't.
you were.
Right. Because I was doing some things steadily, which was the way you were thinking about it. And but for me, I was thinking about it for weight. I'm like, how could I be in maintenance, Cooper? I haven't lost the weight I want to lose. I'm
And-
still fighting that battle.
And that when you put it that way, that made a lot more sense now.
Yeah, like I didn't. You were like, yeah, you're in maintenance. Like, Cooper, I'm not in maintenance. I've only been at this for 18 months. What are you talking about?
But
then you were
as-
like, oh, wait a minute. Let me explain it to you. And you
Yeah.
explained it to me, Lucy.
Yeah. As we know now, 18 months. I mean, what you take maybe a month for research, and then your hour of action to hire a trainer, and then you got 17 more months of maintenance. That's what you're doing. You're doing the things.
And
so-
I didn't look at it that way, and I was so proud when you explained it to me because I'm like, oh, I am maintaining some of the things.
Yeah.
And it was really a big deal in my mind. Like, okay, you're successful at some pieces of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're in the same camp as Karen, when it comes to understanding what it means to maintain, you see there is a bigger context than just weight loss or hitting that new PR on bench press. I want to go ahead and speak to those of you who have hit a goal, and now what? How do you go on? And I want to encourage you guys to share with us something you've accomplished. How do you keep it up in your daily life? Mm-hmm. Definitely let us know in the comments if you're listening on YouTube, or else find episode 106 on our Instagram page and let us know something you accomplished.
Yeah, and just how it worked. How'd you make it work for yourself? Because a lot of people do some very, interesting things that just make a habit stick, and it's always great to hear those. Mm-hmm. Well, this is my question for you, Cooper. Is you're a professional, and everybody just assumes professionals are just consistent at everything, and they just tippy-toe through life, and they don't have challenges and uphill battles. Mm-hmm. Over the last 5 years, what key things have worked for you that have created consistency, whether it's in your gym, with your clients, with your nutrition? Like, what do you kind of hone in on that's made it feel normal and not like you're always working at something? Because that's the part you worry about is it always going to feel like such a chore?
I mean, some days it does, some days it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But as everyone already knows, I mean, I come from a background of athletes,
right,
and active people.
So a lot of your consistency was just in your environment and what you did just coming along and examples you had in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, when I would go on like trips or something or whatever, I would always try and incorporate some kind of movement. Like whether
and that
it
was because that was in your daily life, you always incorporated some type of movement.
Yeah. I mean, if you go on a vacation to like Mexico or
Yeah.
something, you know. Some people's idea of a vacation is to sit on the beach all day.
Or to stop all their routine stuff at home. Like to turn everything off.
Right.
Yeah.
My idea of a vacation is, okay, can we go snorkeling? Can we go...
To keep that activity...
Can we go rock climbing? Or
because it's who you are.
Zip lining, like adventure stuff.
Because it's who you are.
Right. Now, I mean, relaxing on the beach is nice.
Right.
But I don't want to do it for 6 days.
Because that's not... In your real life,
that would be
you
boring.
would not move for 6 days.
Yeah.
And people, that's the thing about maintenance now. This point is what you're doing. It really is who you are.
Yeah.
It's just, it's kind of like, I'm not quitting smoking. I'm not a smoker now. Mm-hmm. It's who you are at this point in maintenance. Mm-hmm. That's what you've done and done it consistent enough where the old habits are really like, in the rear view mirror.
I mean, obviously, besides having that background, I mean, it can only take you for so far.
Yeah.
So there is a big, there's a big internal why.
Okay.
And like it's called intrinsic motivation. Mm-hmm. And actually, I have a good example. I know you guys can't see. One of my tattoos is actually a good reminder of, I guess, why I keep trying to become like the best.
Is that why you got that particular tattoo?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know you guys can't see it, but it is Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Mm-hmm. It's the classic Nordic style of drawing it.
Okay.
And initially, I got the idea from the movie Ragnarok, the Thor Ragnarok film, the Marvel film. And I'd always admired that character, either in the comics or in the MCU, and how you could use the hammer if you were worthy of the power of Thor. Mm. And that word worthy is a major part of what keeps me consistent.
Really?
In the film, Thor's hammer gets destroyed. And he has to spend the rest of the film trying to figure out how to navigate without the source of his power. Or so he thought. Turns out, as Odin tells him, the hammer wasn't the source of his power. It was merely a way to channel it.
Wow.
So my hammer, the tattoo on my arm, is fractured because it reminds me that I'm always this close to not being worthy. Wow. And being worthy isn't something you earn just once and then you have it. It's something you have to earn every day through effort and through passion. Worthy of value, not to anyone in my circle, not to friends or family or society or whatever.
Just for you.
It's worthiness of myself,
right?
How I view myself.
Wow. And
that is something that only the individual can determine for themselves. So talk about what keeps me consistent. If I'm not trying to be my best self, then what kind of life am I living? Am I not going to try to live to my fullest potential? I mean, I'm only on this earth for a limited time.
Right.
Each day is a valuable gift. Time is the only resource we have that we can't get back.
And that we can't control either.
Yeah. So how am I going to spend that?
Okay.
These are the questions I have to ask myself as a reminder to keep going.
Wow.
Because it's not always easy.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of the times it's not.
Yeah. What's the biggest struggle that comes right to your mind when you say it's not always easy?
I mean, kind of at the beginning, especially during the pandemic, when I had gotten a nutrition coach and I was realizing I was not eating as much as I should have been.
Yeah.
So
most people aren't, y'all.
Yeah. So obviously the natural questions you go back are, man, if I was doing this in college, like how much bigger would I be? How much better would I be if I actually been doing this then instead of waiting? But I mean, everyone comes to it at a certain point.
Absolutely.
So there were many, many nights when it was like 10, 11 o'clock and I'd still have about half a plate of spaghetti I'd have to eat before I could go to bed.
And you say have to eat because it was part of
Because it was part of my calorie macro goal. Okay. Like if I didn't eat that, then I wasn't... And eat that every single day.
Oh my
because
gosh.
every single day accumulates to what you want.
Okay.
Then you're not going to get to where you need to go.
Ooh.
I mean, and it's not even just that. It could have been I didn't want to do my steady state cardio on the treadmill because it's so boring.
Yeah.
Or there were even sometimes workouts I didn't want to do because I wasn't in the mood.
Right.
But as
that mood thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we talked about before.
Yeah.
If you have a structure, right, and a plan, it doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. You're going to do it.
It's routine.
Yeah, it's routine because the cost of what you want to get is worth the price.
It's tied up in that routine.
Right. And I did it because I had a vision of what I wanted to be.
Okay.
And I still have a vision.
Yeah.
I want to be the best version of myself, whatever that may look like.
So you had mentioned to me that eating the calories you had to sometimes when it was 11 o'clock at night was your first what?
Oh, that was my, you want me to do what moment? So when talking about, motivating yourself or staying on track, in some respect, that for me was looking in the mirror and wishing I could be bigger.
Okay.
Not to fulfill some societal body image requirement of what a manly man should look like. It was what I wanted for myself because I had, spent so long like as a skinny swimmer and just, walking around and, you look around and you see people that are in good shape, and they have like really hot wives or whoever and they're really famous or successful and all of these things and you're just like I kind of want to look like that or
and
I kind of want to be like that. Not because like everyone who is successful or whatever has that kind of physique,
right? It's
just what I value.
It's just what it's what you wanted. It's simple.
And the funny thing is when I look in the mirror sometimes I still have to convince myself that I'm not that skinny swimmer who walked into the gym for the first time back at App State.
Do you really?
I know that sounds unbelievable. And there's actually a really funny, I think, like cartoon or meme or something where it shows like a guy like standing in front of a mirror and you see his reflection.
Yeah.
And it's like him super skinny, but like from the back, he's like super jacked.
Yeah.
So like, even though, you spend so long, on the grind, so to speak.
Yes.
That you kind of forget, how much progress you've made.
Actually made. Yeah.
It's a real thing. A lot of people, the longer they travel down this maintenance road gets. It's this phenomenon called imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So you have to find ways of reminding yourself that, yes, you are improving, to value the work you've done. Because it just stops like feeling like you're doing enough.
Yeah.
So that also is a really big roadblock to overcome. The longer you get down maintenance is the feeling of, am I doing enough? All the excitement goes away.
It's so true. And you take it all for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like everything in life. After you've done it a while, you've done it a while. And you do take for granted like how much you've changed. Yeah. And you do still keep looking for that new look in your arms or that new look in your weight, or you're always looking like, I want to see it pay off. I want to see it pay off. Like, where's my payoff? I've been so consistent.
Right. But as we know, it never ends.
No, it's not. There's no end to anything. This is just who you are now. But you still do want some of that hit that you got in the beginning when you initially changed everything and people noticed and people commented and you noticed it. It does become more of like, okay, well, that's just who you are now. It's weird. Yeah. But yes.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to say that I don't see the changes or I literally see myself.
Well, you're on a different trajectory now because you want to compete.
Right. But like, I see myself and I see all the growth that I have.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't acknowledge like fully that like, is that really me? Is that really what I look like?
It's
like
scary because you don't want to acknowledge it because you feel like I'm going to lose it.
Right.
How am I going to hold on to it?
Exactly. You're going to lose it.
You're going to lose it.
Or how can I keep it going?
Yes. How am I going to keep this going?
Yeah. So it's sometimes not even a fear of failure because a lot of people will be afraid to fail so they won't try.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, it's almost a fear of success.
And I think in maintenance, that's probably just true of it all because you're afraid all of a sudden it's going to slip away.
Yeah. And that was, I know recently I've talked about me trying to step on stage next year. And I think leading up to that decision, there was this moment I needed to have of myself where I was like, I'm not really changing anymore. I'm kind of just sort of cruising. And I hit a plateau. why am I not trying to improve more? Well, it's because I'm afraid of what will happen if I try.
And it doesn't happen.
And then, well, not even if it doesn't happen, because I know it can happen.
Right.
But then, like you said earlier, how do I maintain that?
Yeah, keeping it all going.
How do you keep it going?
Yeah.
And it's not, you need to step back if you think that way.
Yeah.
And just stay present.
Okay.
Because if you keep thinking, how am I keep it going, then you're never going to try in the first place.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be stuck in the way you are.
And the way you keep it going is you just keep doing the thing you've been doing. That's
just keep
whole
doing
mind. I want to say a bad word, but the mind blank part of it is just you really just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the great thing is if you're present, then you will forget about trying to maintain it and you just will.
And you just will. Bingo.
And if you stop worrying, and I'm saying this because I need to tell myself this.
I love that.
Because it's super hard
yes.
for even me, even right now, to like grasp, like, oh my God, I'm going to gain 10 more pounds. How am I going to?
Like how?
I can barely eat all I need to right now. How am I going to keep this going? Like, do I want to keep this going? These are all the questions you ask yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, just take one day at a time. Just enjoy. You know, I tell people, you know, when I used to be really shy about like flexing or posing in the mirror in college because I didn't want people to see me or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I don't care. I don't know how long I'm going to look like this.
Yes.
So I'm going to enjoy it while I have it.
Yeah.
And if people don't want to see it,
then
they can
look
just turn
away.
around and go away.
It's like they can look away.
Right. I'm not doing this for you.
Not at all.
Newsflash.
Not at all.
I'm doing this for me.
Yes. It's important.
So
it's important that you appreciate like it's the effort. I don't even want to use the word work. It's the effort. It's a mental effort. Mm-hmm. It's the physical effort of preparing each day to go through it successfully. It's just all the effort. And when you see that it's paying off, it is a really good feeling.
Yeah.
At this point in my journey, as they say, I definitely have more good days than bad. I mean, honestly, with the way that I've changed up my diet, I no longer get indigestion or inflammation or bloating. Every day I look forward to moving my body and enjoying protein-forward meals like I am that girl now. And I love that about myself. Maintenance is a great place for me because now I'm focusing on staying in a caloric deficit and I can really concentrate on losing the last amount of weight that I'd like to lose. The way I see it is at this point, every decision I make is either moving me towards what I want to be or moving me away from it. But I'm in control of that. I'm no longer afraid that if I step out of line on one thing, it's all going to fall apart. I now know that is not the truth. But either way, good or bad, I don't panic and stress anymore over routines or habits. They're pretty well set in. I'm happy about that. I don't beat myself up. I used to beat myself up and then abandon everything. But I don't beat myself up because I know exactly what I'm doing or not doing at all times. And I just own it and not just look at it as a good day or a failure day. I don't do it anymore. So for me, that's been powerful.
What you're choosing to do,
or not choosing to do
from a previous episode.
And I just respect that I'm the one making this choice right now. Either way, it's not the end of the world. That's the beauty and maintenance right now.
You have found your Wu Wei, your actionless action.
My actionless action. That's exactly right. I mean, I'm not afraid of going out to restaurants or bars, fearing that I'll overeat. I won't. It's just it's been like 2 years that it of that kind of intention and making sure that when I am out, I'm enjoying the company of the people and picking things on a menu that I really like, not just feeling like I need to be a girl at a table with a salad like that. Those days are gone. I know how to enjoy all the foods. Like you said to me a long time ago, Karen, food is food. And I was so happy when I finally embraced that. Like there are no bad foods and good foods. Food is food. And I was just like, okay, I believe you one day. And now I feel like, yeah, I'm here now. Whenever I like used to say to me, why won't you just have a bagel? Like I'd be obsessing about a bagel. Oh, because, bagels are not good for you and carbs and this and that. And you were like, just have the bagel. And I would go, gosh, am I ever going to be able to allow myself to do that? Yeah,
Yeah.
I allow myself to do that. And it's not the end of the world.
Enjoy a bagel. Bagels are great.
But, you read all the things about carbs and this and that and the other thing. And it's just like, that's the food of death. So I've gotten to that point where I can maintain a really good balance. And that was a huge corner to turn.
Maybe 5 bagels are death.
That would be a problem.
In one sitting. If it's doesn't fit your macros or your calorie goal.
Listen,
but yeah.
I realize it's not the end of the world to have a damn bagel.
Yeah. And in my view, once you start down the path towards creating the best version of yourself, you don't really go back to the way you were before.
And I think this is where we disagree a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And only because I think we need to keep in mind that these little relapses or ups and downs are inevitable in maintenance even. Nobody's flawless. I don't care who you are. Every day is not going to be perfection. So don't put that in your head that maintenance is you never do other things. You do all the things, but you just know how to manipulate them.
That's right.
As you work through changing your lifestyle, there will be multiple occurrences where you quote unquote fall off track. When you get tempted to have extra drinks or extra cookies, and that's fine. A relapse doesn't need to have an intervention.
That's
it's
right.
just all part of what you're doing now.
No MTV specials.
No, I mean, any action that doesn't serve your ultimate goal, your highest self, is a form of relapse. Okay, no big deal. So obviously, in the course of every single action we take, we can't possibly keep moving us always, forward.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to be stuck. And sometimes you're going to go a little bit backwards. I mean, you're human. So in maintenance, you're going to have a little bit of that. But you don't want to be so stringent with the way you think or the way you conduct yourself where you actually burn out from healthy habits.
Right.
You don't want to be the opposite end of the spectrum where that happens to you.
Granted, relapse implies that you revert to your old ways. But really, you've already had a taste of what it's like to dream big. So no matter how deep you think you've fallen, how far you believe you have reversed all your hard work, you put in the work before.
Yep.
You know what it takes.
Yep.
You can do it again.
Yep.
You don't really go back to the way you were before in the sense that you already know what it's like
To be on the other side.
To be on the other side.
Sure.
It's no longer a foreign concept.
There's been a lot of positives that you've experienced. It's really happened.
That's
Whatever
right.
that thing was you were changing, you've changed it.
Yeah, so even if you, quote unquote, go back to your old ways...
For a little while.
That door is still open.
I went back for my old ways for 30 days.
Right.
I just pressed pause.
Yeah.
Because one aspect of what I wanted to conquer, it was just harder and harder to make enough difference where I felt like all this effort, I should see more difference. And it was like, I just had to press pause. But literally, it was so temporary. And the whole time I was in that moment, I knew it was temporary.
Right. So I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, we're just saying it differently.
Right.
Because it's like you said before, relapse is a part of maintenance.
It's all part of it. And I understand that so well
Yeah.
now. Like I understand that now after being trained by professionals. Like,
Right.
This is not just something I just picked up along the way.
Right.
I really had to understand the process of changing years of behavior.
But you are no longer your quote-unquote old self.
No.
Like I mentioned.
No.
You're just a new old self.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense to y'all.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah. So in the hero's journey, the darkest hour is an essential part for everyone's path on the way to greatness. Why should you be any different? It doesn't have to be one darkest hour. It can happen many times, every month, every year. It doesn't need to be a rock bottom moment.
Right.
And instead, let's look at how we can use relapse to our advantage.
Okay.
Aside from the clinical term, what if we viewed relapse as an essential part of growth, like
I love
you just
that.
said?
And that is literally how it should be viewed.
Right.
It literally needs to be viewed that way.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't just destroy you and shut you down.
Yeah. I mean, if you
Yeah.
take 2 steps forward, and one step back.
You're still one step
You're still
forward.
one step forward.
Totally.
And you do that a lot.
Yes,
you're going to get way farther than you thought you were.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So what if we called it, taking a step back, right? Or reevaluating the choices that we've made with what we've already changed.
I love that.
Or reflect and meditate on what's really important.
Yep.
So
it is really taking a beat.
Yeah.
Like literally, there are going to be weeks and days you just need to take a beat.
Yeah.
And shut it all down for yourself because you feel like you're going to spiral. Mm-hmm. That's when you realize, I'm overthinking things and I just need to take a break.
Yeah. So I don't like I call it the C word. I don't like cheat days.
We've never used that terminology with each other.
I don't like using that word
because food is food.
It makes it sound like, this food is not part of the plan or
not part of normal life.
Right. So I like to call it instead a refeed day.
A refeed day. This is your refeed day.
This is your refeed day. Here's that dozen donuts. Have fun. It makes it seem more like a part of progressing you towards your goal.
Yes.
Right? It's not like you're pressing pause and you're going to take off your new hat and put back on your old hat.
Yes.
Because like we just said, you can't do that anymore.
And mentally, so much of how you think about your behavior affects your behavior.
Yeah.
Like the way you perceive it as, oh, this is my bad side, or, oh, I fell down I fell down and I didn't do this right. Like so much of how you perceive your action can make it like calm or really frantic.
Right.
Your perception of a deviation, but you need to understand like deviation is what you're going to do from now on going forward.
Taking a break or relapse, refeed,
refeed,
that
I
is,
love that one.
It doesn't mean you're off track.
Right.
It just means that you need a moment to give yourself to relax.
And everybody really hear that if you're at the point now where you've worked hard and you've gotten some things really just like on autopilot, and then one day you just don't feel like it. You're not feeling it. That's going to happen.
That's normal.
It's
right?
normal.
You're not backtracking from your goal.
Nope.
Right? Don't think of it. I hate when people, I may have not seen someone for like a week or so in the gym. Or like, someone may have been, on vacation, have a lot of work for a month and like, oh man, I got to get back on track.
Yeah.
It's like nails on a chalkboard to me because they're treating themselves like, especially like with stuff like work that was out of their control.
Right.
They had no control.
Right.
So you're still on track.
Yep.
Right. Just do what you can.
Absolutely.
Not every single thing has to be perfectly in line for you to stay on track.
Absolutely.
Quote unquote. Right.
If it's 80 or 90% of the time, you are doing very consistent.
If it's 25% of the time,
it's not what you used to be.
Yeah, you're still not what you used to be.
Or where you used to be. You're not where you used to be with that.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope we're not beating a dead horse with all of this.
No, because it's important. There are some folks out there who have worked really hard and gotten themselves to a place where they're proud of how they're eating or how their sleep habits have improved or the fact that they are walking.
Right.
We're not talking about, going to the gyms and hiring trainers on all of this. This is just doing stuff better to be your best self.
Right. We just talked about how it's not just about losing weight.
No.
Right? There are so many other factors that go into maintenance and maintaining your goals.
Yes.
That are just the one thing. It is the sum of all of them.
Yes, the sum of all the parts. Yep.
So please don't ever say or think to yourself, I got to get back on track. Because it's not that simple.
Yep. And I love this thing that you say here, and I'm going to read this, Cooper.
Okay.
And we were talking about this earlier. You said, when you take breaks during any habit in maintenance, it's just a brief or not so brief layover between getting it back together. And I love that. I was like, because that's how I felt. The month that I took off, I knew it was not forever. I knew it was brief. I knew I needed to press pause, and I just whipped it back together. Right as I relaxed in that and enjoyed that, I knew that I was going to turn it right back around because the benefits were so wonderful that I experienced with being so consistent with that habit. So I just love that. It's a layover. Sometimes you need to take a layover.
It was a scheduled pit stop.
a layover between, and I'd been, doing this for 2 years now. So it was kind of like time. And even when I spoke to my nutritionist, she was like, this is probably a good thing right now. She's like, because you've been at it a while. And I said the whole time that I was having my layover, I was thinking about getting back on that plane. It was crazy. I was just like, this is great, but this is not forever. Because the benefits are so much greater from what I had already what I'd already changed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look, you guys, my fellow millennials, I'm going to put it to you this way. Even Frodo and Sam fell down sometimes. Even they had to take a break. But eventually, they picked up the ring and they finished their climb up to Mount Doom. So in closing, think about it this way. Once you met a goal, your idea of what you're looking for changes.
Yeah, so go ahead and move the goalposts. I mean, you don't stay stuck on a goal that, isn't serving you anymore, or you're not even excited or happy about, or you don't really even want to focus on getting to. Move the goalposts. I mean, work the changes in your expectations of yourself. Just work towards that. Just don't make everything rigid.
Evolve or repeat.
Evolve or repeat.
From episode, what was that, 3?
I think it was
4?
episode 3,
like
but that is fact. Evolve or repeat.
Yeah.
But
maintenance is deciding to follow the changes to your lifestyle that continue to serve your goal of becoming your best version of yourself.
Follow the changes to your lifestyle. That's just what you're doing every day. Good or bad, 80%, 20%, 10%, just follow those changes.
It's that wu wei, that actionless action, that behaving as naturally as you can with the new habits you have.
Yep.
Not forcing the rock to a road.
Yep.
But flowing over it, and eventually it will get to where you need to be.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I love that. And I totally get now the idea of maintenance doesn't mean you met a goal and you hit a point and now you just got to hold on to it. That's not it at all.
Or you just...
You're just maintaining the new habits and behaviors that are just making you feel good, making you look good. You have more energy. You're just maintaining those things to the best of your ability. You're not abandoning them. You're not dropping them. You're just maintaining them to the best of your ability.
You don't just hard stop.
There's no hard stop.
The tracks don't just end.
Right.
You just take a new direction.
So I totally get that now. I hope you all get that point too. And I want to say something to you. There's a saying that I found that was so perfect for this episode about what the essence of maintenance is. And write this down or check it out on our Instagram for episode 106. First, maintenance is an intention, then a behavior, then a habit, then a practice, then is second nature, then it is simply who you are.
That sums it up pretty good.
That is exactly what maintenance is. It's all of those things. Intention, behavior, habit, practice, second nature. And then it's just who you are.
Your identity.
And that's what it is.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Now we've reached the point in our podcast where I think we have prepared you, the listener, for all the troubles and triumphs you're going to encounter as you work to become your best self.
Yeah, we hope you really understood what you look like in each phase. Some of the key things that are happening when you're in contemplation and when you move into action. Just a better idea of, where you are in the process. Because I didn't know this information until Cooper and I got together and we started researching these things. But I love knowing that, that my contemplation stage, all that thinking and researching and wondering and worrying, like that's a real thing right before you catapult yourself to do something about, what you're worrying about. So I hope that you got to see that in each phase and each episode that we talked about.
Hell, I wish I had known half of this stuff when I was picking up weights for the first time in P90X in college.
I just think it makes you take it easy on yourself because you are actually normal. You understand, like, this is all part of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we get that a lot. You just get, like, you need to get from A to B and you need to not deviate. And it needs to be miserable and difficult, and you give up all the things just to get there, and that's just totally not what habit change is about at all.
Yeah, and even like rehab stuff as well, or strength training or weight loss. Like a Dr. Mike has this chart in his office, and it's it says the road to rehab or the road to care it's not a straight line. It's like it goes up a little bit and then it goes windy and this way and that way, up and down.
The road to rehab, the road to strength training, the road to weight loss, the road to all of that is a crazy roller coaster. It is a crazy roller coaster. And we're so used to just thinking like, oh, we couldn't do it. We didn't have the strength. We weren't the person that could make that happen. There is no one way to make all these things happen.
You just need to have a vision and to just maintain it.
Just keep on moving towards the stuff that makes you happy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like if you're feeling good and looking good, do more of that. You know what I mean? If you're eating better, do more of that.
Well, now we've reached the point in our podcast where I think we've prepared you, the listener, for a lot of the troubles and triumphs you're going to encounter as you work toward becoming your best self.
Yeah, I really hope this series helps you. And again, thank you so much for listening to You Want Me to Do What?
As y'all know, this subject doesn't ever end. It just evolves as you evolve. We look forward to reading your stories in the comments if you're listening on YouTube, or else on our Instagram post for episode 106, or any of the previous posts. You can find me on Instagram at @the_Dragon Fitness.
And you can find me, KK, at winkwink854. And we really look forward to hearing from you. Well, Coop, sadly, that's a wrap.
Cheers to becoming your best self.
Bye.
Bye.